Committee to order. Roll call.
Marvin Wolf.
Here.
Harvey Schweitzer.
Here.
Abby Lidkey.
Here.
Roland Kiefer.
Here.
Melvin Hebron.
Here.
William Thays.
Here.
Belinda Costich.
Here.
Did I say that right? Sudarshan Sharma.
Here.
Joe Spear.
Here.
Brad Vanderkin. And Madeline Sherwinski.
Here.
Agenda was posted in accordance with the open record meeting laws.
Okay. And approval of the minutes from November 7th. Everybody should have got a copy of them in the mail. Any questions on the minutes? Not hearing any. Do we have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Public comment period. Anybody for the public comment period? Not hearing none, public comment period is closed. Financial report. Everybody should have got a copy of that.
I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, under new business. JSA environmental report, Joe.
All right, last meeting, I had only just gotten the results, but we had a conversation about the fact that there weren't any indications of VOCs or hydrocarbons or any kind of technical release from landfill. So on further examination, that's absolutely the truth. This is our normal format. The printer got a little away on me and reduced some font sizes and so on. But the PDF I put up on my webpage will be locked so that if you print it again, you all come out of adequate size. Last year, we had manganese hits, which is a normally occurring mineral in Wisconsin soils. It just hadn't happened for almost 20 years. We sampled 2 of those wells that has those hits, and we had what we call J flags, where we can detect that the material's there, but we can't give you a guarantee on what the volume is. So I consider that not a trend. It was a hit. Maybe somebody grounded their well casing, which is a bad habit, but pipes are made out of metal. People like to attach grounds to them. You electrify the groundwater, and you can mobilize things in the soil. So there's other opportunities. I'm just using that as an example. So I don't think the manganese is an issue, and there were no other daughter chemicals, nor the constituents that would have caused mobilization. We had one well that was high in sulfate. Most of our really high sulfate wells are now owned by Waste Management. We discussed this 2 years ago in the report, and I mentioned it again. The statement's there. Our other wells, 5, were iron hits, and these were, again, relatively low. Usually when we have a very high iron hit, it usually means that the well itself is decaying, or the system and the actual pipe material is being released into the water into the home. So these were all very low. So I would call this a clean run. Again, I didn't bother to modify our appendix on trending because it is just iron and sulfate. We didn't have any problems with the trip blanks to create an issue. And I made the recommendation that we hit the manganese wells again, just in case. And again, it's not really because it's manganese, it's just because it's material that wasn't there before. And then to keep moving outwards, because Waste Management keeps acquiring properties with these wells, and then we lose the wells to our program, but those properties end up becoming monitoring well points. And they are not, I didn't make this clear last report, I want to make it clear, and this time, it's a new well each time. They do not take the old well and use it for monitoring. They have to abandon it under the drinking water standards and then place a new monitoring well. And we're coming up on 20 years of me doing this, which means that we're coming up on 30 years of actual well sampling. So I'm going to start truncating some of the tables just because we don't need the 1993 information that's kept on a couple of the charts. So we'll keep it down to this size page, and it will probably stay the same thickness.
When they put a new well, when they test a new well, they go as deep then, or are they just?
It depends. So the nice thing is when we do the drinking water, those wells when they were placed, that was targeted solely for the drinking water of that property. The new monitoring wells that are put in are targeted based on the aquifer that we want to test.
Oh.
So sometimes it's one well, sometimes it's nested wells. Nested wells means you got one location, but you've got wells to different depths. So it's more advantageous for monitoring the landfill, the second stage after the drinking water well's been removed.
After the years now, they haven't gone out as far as they used to testing wells, because my mother's would get tested, but that
We
hasn't been
did,
tested in a long time.
we changed that, so in 2006, the well report went over to JSA, and in 93, we didn't have as nice spreadsheet software and GPS and so on. So for some reason, the original writers used the entire city.
Oh.
And so we had well samplings way out in the middle of Franklin, well beyond here.
I see.
And we had records of properties that refused sampling that are, just down the road. So I mean, it's not like anything was dodged.
Yeah.
But your mother's house was probably inside that original footprint that we used, and then I trimmed it down to 93rd, Loomis. Oh, that's embarrassing. 6 Mile or
6 Mile.
7 Mile.
7 Mile.
7 Mile.
Yeah, right, 7 Mile.
And then we did US 45 because we got a landfill right across the street that produces almost the exact same required report. There's very little difference between the way the report's required to be written on this side of the street and on the other side of the street. So to maximize wells on both sides, we got the two committees to agree to split the wells right at 45. So that is the new limits.
Oh, yeah.
If a plume did occur, we would definitely expand outwards. There's a whole list of statutes that describes exactly how, I shouldn't say we, how Waste
Yeah.
Management would have to broaden their sampling if a plume actually occurred.
Oh, yeah.
Any more questions?
Is this manganese in a free form or what compound is it?
Yeah, it's ionic, so it is 2+.
It's coming from,
It's most likely coming from the soil. They call it mobilized, and most likely some reaction occurred.
right,
But nothing, I can't find anything else that's mobilized to make me concerned about it. Chloride works great as a mobilizer, and one of them had a J flag for chloride, and that's probably because the well's too close to where they salt their drive or something similar to that. Current was passed into it, like I said, the grounding. If chlorination was done as far before this sampling as possible, that could be a release too, and the bromines and chloroforms would have already been used up. But that's what I usually find is somebody who does a poor job at doing their well, they just literally dump chlorine down it,
right.
and you get all these daughter responses. And sometimes manganese is one of them, mobilizes that, arsenic too. It just, it changes the ionic environment and frees up all these cation anions. But there's none of that history in these wells.
Okay.
Any other questions? Not hearing none, do I have a motion to approve Joe Spears' report?
I will.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to Waste Management report. Brad?
Right. As far as correspondence goes, mainly right now we're just preparing to submit our 2024 report. So that's working with a few consultants and our team to submit pretty much all the documentation that we need to submit to DNR for basically what we did in 2024. Construction-wise, next year we actually have quite a decent amount planned. We're looking to put in a new flare in 2025, working on cell construction drawings for, actually your RFP went out today, or this week, for construction on a new cell for 2025. Just in the last few months, we finished upgrading 8 panels that pump leachate. So we converted them from radios to fiber connection, so it's a more consistent communication between the panels and how much leachate we can pump off-site. And then we also replaced a large section of header pipe, which is the main pipe on the old North 60 hill that pulls gas off of that hill. So some pretty good infrastructure improvements and some good stuff planned for 2025. Site operations, kind of in the heart of winter right now, so it kind of limits what we can all do. But we're still in 3B, going across on another lift. Plan to be in 3B for probably the next 2 to 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 months to kind of get back level with the cell next to us, and then with the cell construction coming in 2025, we'll be going into a fluff lift probably towards next winter again to get across that. But other than that, we'll be pretty much filling in the same spot, keep trying to level everything out. Residential yard overall has been working pretty smoothly. We actually hired 2 guys from the Lions Club who helped us with the Lions Club cleanup, and they've been doing a really good job for us, which is better than the typical labor we've had back there. Volume's just a little bit slower in the winter, so we're not getting many projects or anything coming in just because it's winter. I have 2 other items on here, and one of them I dug into a little bit closer. So we're in the phase of looking at a potential expansion going to the north side, and was reviewing the host agreement, and there was a couple exhibits in the host agreement that were maps that weren't very clear on some of the copies that I had, and I found some additional copies. So one is the Exhibit B, which is an older outline of the properties that we actually owned in the square, right? And we've acquired some of those properties, and this map wasn't updated at the time in reviewing some of the wetlands and possible expansion footprints. I was looking to maybe make an update on this map, but then as I looked into this closer, there's another exhibit, which is Exhibit A, which is, and I can move this around so you guys can see this, but the yellow line is the fill area that supersedes what's ever on this map according to the host agreement. So I don't think we actually have to update this map. I think the map, basically, right now Waste Management owns all of the property on this map except for this AT&T tower, which is over here, and then the junkyard.
Yeah, that's it.
So for now, right? True. So as we're looking at our potential footprint expansion, we just wanted to make sure these were updated, because we'll have to submit these to the state, and if they go and review these and it's not in the host agreement, then that would ultimately halt any expansion.
You're looking for that area right there?
So ultimately, what we're looking at is, because of wetlands, and we're going through the wetlands right now, what we're proposing is pretty much this whole northern section of the property that we own, and then depending on how wetlands actually pan out is going to determine what that footprint would actually look like.
Were you planning on moving a set of tower lines? The ones that
I
run
mean,
north-south?
Ultimately, we'd probably have to move power lines, yep.
Because that would allow you to come farther east.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean,
You
basically,
can work around the AT&T tower.
we can work around the AT&T tower. There's some significant wetlands throughout the entire property, so
Right.
as we work through the DNR and the wetland approval process, and some of those we might be able to impact, but we'd have to buy mitigation credits and to be able to do that. So right now there's federal wetlands and then there's state wetlands, so we're working through both of that process right now to try and figure out, we have to propose a potential footprint.
Right.
And then you have to get approval from the wetland, and then we'd have to go to the solid waste department in order to get kind of that approval. But until we get wetland approval,
I know.
nothing.
I know with highways,
Yep.
if they put a highway through and they take up some wetlands,
Yep.
they can buy land somewhere else
That's-
and make it a wetland. Can you do that?
That's what we'd have to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
On that tower line,
Yep.
wasn't that just moved not too long ago?
I don't know when the power lines were actually moved, but I know we moved the pipeline. a while back.
Well,
There's also a pipeline through there.
Where's the other?
You're thinking of the power lines down on County Line Road
No,
that were moved up along 112th?
yeah,
Those were moved off the property and moved to the edge on 112th up,
on 112th Street,
on 112th Street.
yeah.
They came out of the Raymond Barrow Pit area
Yeah, yeah.
and then jagged around. That was done a few years ago.
Yeah.
But nothing as far as the towers coming north into it and going east.
Okay.
Those weren't moved,
You can see kind of
okay?
where this is cut here. There's some,
Oh, yeah.
there's
Yeah.
some pretty big power coming through there.
Yeah.
We've had preliminary discussions with, I believe it's ATC, about what it would take to move those power lines, and they basically gave us a ballpark rate what it would cost to move them.
It's called money.
Yeah.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, so that, I mean, obviously that's gonna be another hurdle that we'll have to work through, but, ultimately, if we can't get around the wetlands, then
Don't need to move the
then
tower.
you don't gotta move the power lines, right? So,
Now, how many towers are there? Just the one?
Oh, no.
oh no, there's
There's a bunch
multiple,
of
yeah,
those.
there's,
Oh, really?
6 to 7
Yeah.
in that area.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe
Yeah.
that might be.
That's all the big metal, the
The
four.
big ones.
The four,
yeah,
Four-legged ones.
yeah,
Yep.
four-legged ones.
yep,
Yeah.
so,
Some
So-
things have changed with the new UDO also, so I don't know.
yeah.
That
We'll
matters.
see how it all kind of pans out, right? It's just getting the wetlands approval, and then, I mean, the expansion process, we're thinking is 5 to 7 year process altogether. So, nothing's gonna happen quickly, and we're just gonna keep working through,
Do you think you have a 15-year footprint to grab though?
hopefully.
We'll see what they give us.
Yeah,
But that's the target.
Yeah, we'll be pushing it at a 15-year.
Yeah.
We'll see what the wetland outline is.
yeah,
And that's at your current rate, or are you?
Ideally, yeah.
yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
not the last expansion's rate.
No,
Okay.
at current tonnage.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I got-
Joe?
So I got
Yeah.
two. One is clarifier. When Melvin asked about the wetlands, only because you guys represent the community, and I don't want you to get caught if you have a conversation. They're allowed to remove the wetlands and so on, but they have to create new ones. We no longer allow the identification of untouched wetlands, just so you don't have somebody jump down your throat. They create new ones. Hopefully, the green corridor that Franklin and Racine have been putting together might give you some space for that. The other thing was, as long as we were talking about leachate, the pretreatment plant, has that volume been decreasing? It's not my purview, but it's
Yeah.
still the committee, so we haven't
Yeah.
talked about it in a long time.
I would say we've been making a lot of upgrades to the actual infrastructure that's pumping that, and we're probably looking to add more pumps into that hill as we look to get closure on that hill. So I would say that the volume there is probably going to go up.
Okay.
But that's depending on what we need to do for closure on that hill, and with the upgrades in the infrastructure that we did, that could potentially generate more leachate. So that's to be determined yet, I
Okay.
guess is what I would say.
When you say volume up, how many gallons a day is that?
So typically pumping completely off site, we're anywhere from, I mean, if it's heavy rains and everything, we could pump 150,000 gallons off a site in a day.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, but
But-
you're not putting everything through the pretreatment plant, right?
No, but
I just meant
through the treatment
six-
plant, maybe 10 to 20,000 gallons.
Right, I was curious if the flow into the pretreatment plant, is
Yeah.
that reducing now that the old hill sat for some time sealed up?
With the we've had some communication issues, and I haven't got consistent flow, so I would say that should normalize here with the project we just did.
So there's really nothing coming out of the original hill?
Not a lot.
No, but there is something, huh?
Yeah, yep. Majority of it's coming off so basically this whole hill over here, which is the old hill is what we'd call it, that's all capped with either synthetic cap or clay cap. So that ideally would keep a lot of liquids out of there.
Yeah.
So majority of it's coming off the Northeast Expansion West, which is our open cell, which rainwater will just go right through. So we get a majority of our leachate from there.
Okay, any more questions?
I do have one more thing to I took on a different job at Waste Management. So as of probably last week, Brett, who actually was my boss the whole time I was at Metro, will be taking on a lot of more of the daily operations as well at Metro. Michaela's there as well. She's been training for the last 7 months with me there as well. She's in a corporate program for training, but Coogan will be there a lot more than what he has been with my absence. And so just kind of letting the committee know that if we have issues going forward or anything like that, you can definitely call me, but I'll give you Brett's number. No. Not
So
really.
is he taking your spot on the committee then?
He will be taking my
Okay.
spot on the committee. Yep.
Okay.
So
Any
does
other
that mean you're
questions?
moving up? So is that
Our
mean
side,
you're gonna be
We don't
his
know
boss?
if we don't know if it's a forced move or not.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're gonna be his boss?
No. No, it's
Coward.
You and Travis both came from that program, right?
yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
He's another coward.
Yeah. Michaela
Okay, any
was
other
super-
questions? Not having any, do we have a motion to approve the Waste Management's report?
I recommend.
Okay, second? Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Miscellaneous business? We have any? None, okay. Next scheduled meeting is May 1st, 2025. You have it on your agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes.